9 hikers entered the frozen Ural Mountains. Weeks later, investigators found a tent slashed open from the inside, and a mystery that remains unsolved to this day.
On a freezing winter night in February 1959, 9 experienced hikers disappeared in the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union.
Weeks later, rescuers found their campsite abandoned. Their tent had been cut from the inside, and a trail of footprints disappeared into the frozen darkness.
The expedition began on January 23, 1959. It was led by Igor Dyatlov, a skilled engineering student and experienced outdoor leader. Their goal was to complete one of the Soviet Union's most demanding winter ski routes through the northern Ural Mountains. Originally, 10 people started the journey, but one member, Yuri Yudin, returned early because of illness, a decision that unexpectedly saved his life. The remaining hikers carefully documented their journey with photographs and handwritten journals, leaving behind a remarkable record of their expedition. On February 1, worsening weather reduced visibility. The group drifted west of their planned route and reached the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl. Instead of returning to the shelter of the forest, they decided to camp on the exposed mountainside and prepared for the night. Their journals and photographs gave no sign of panic. To them, it appeared to be another ordinary evening during a difficult expedition. When the group failed to return on schedule, friends first believed they had simply been delayed. But as more days passed, concern quickly grew, and search teams were organized.
For nearly 4 weeks, the mountain remained silent. Search teams battled brutal weather, hoping to find any trace of the missing hikers.
Then, on February 26, they finally reached the abandoned campsite, where the real mystery was waiting. On February 26, 1959, after days of searching through the frozen Ural Mountains, rescues finally reached the hikers' last known campsite.
Near the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl, they discovered the expedition tent, partially covered by drifting snow.
Inside the tent, investigators later documented winter clothing, boots, food, cameras, journals, and personal belongings that had been left behind. Forensic investigators later concluded that several openings in the tent had been made from the inside before the group left the campsite. Outside the tent, a line of footprints led downhill toward a distant forest nearly 1.5 kilometers away. The footprints became one of the investigation's most important pieces of evidence, leading search teams toward their next discovery.
Following the footprints, the search team moved deeper into the forest below the mountain. Every step brought new questions.
Near the edge of a large cedar tree, the rescuers made their first major discovery. Investigators documented signs of a small campfire. Burned wood and scattered branches were still visible in the snow. On February 27, search teams found Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko beneath the cedar tree, marking the first major discovery. From the cedar tree, investigators traced another line of evidence, leading back toward the abandoned tent. In February and March 1959, between the cedar tree and the tent, Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin were discovered. In May 1959, the bodies of Alexander, Yudmila, Semyon, and Nikolai were found in a melting ravine 75 meters beyond the cedar tree. As the search continued, additional discoveries helped investigators begin reconstructing the group's final movements across the mountain. Each new discovery answered one question, but raised many more. the investigation was only beginning. As more evidence was documented, Soviet investigators officially opened a criminal investigation into the deaths of the expedition members. Search teams continued documenting every location connected to the expedition, carefully preserving the evidence for further examination. The expedition's journals, cameras, and photographs became valuable records, helping investigators reconstruct the group's final days.
Weather reports confirmed that powerful winds, freezing temperatures, and heavy snowfall had affected the mountain during the expedition.
Despite months of investigation, no single explanation fully accounted for every piece of evidence collected at the scene. The official investigation eventually closed, but the mystery did not. For decades, researchers continued searching for answers. For decades, one explanation has been discussed more than any other: an avalanche. But does the evidence support it? Investigators observed that the tent had been placed on a snow-covered slope, where weather conditions could change rapidly.
In 2021, researchers published a scientific study suggesting that a delayed slab avalanche could explain some of the evidence found at the campsite.
According to the study, wind-driven snow may have gradually built up above the campsite before a section of compacted snow suddenly shifted.
However, many researchers point out that several important questions remain unanswered, and not all evidence fits this explanation. The avalanche theory explains some observations, but it does not fully solve the mystery. Other scientific explanations continue to be explored. If it wasn't a large avalanche, what else could have forced the hikers to leave their tent?
Modern researchers have suggested that powerful mountain winds may have created dangerous conditions around the campsite.
In severe winter conditions, visibility can disappear within minutes, making even familiar terrain difficult to navigate.
Survival experts note that, in extreme cold, people sometimes make rapid decisions based on the conditions they face at that moment.
Even today, researchers continue studying the terrain, weather records, and historical documents to better understand what happened that night.
More than 60 years later, the mystery of Dyatlov Pass still remains unsolved.